So it's official. The rematch between WBO light heavyweight champion Eleider Alvarez and former champion Sergey Kovalev is heading to ESPN. It won't be on HBO. HBO refused to pay the money required to put the fight on. As I keep saying, there's no place in boxing for fighters to be loyal to promoters or networks or any of that type of business. Because as soon as you're no longer a hot property, that network will drop you like a bad habit. So much for all the loyalty you've shown them over the years. I wonder if Sergey Kovalev and Kathy Duver have learned their lesson. Because, as you see here, the fight's going to ESPN. Sergey Kovalev turned down potentially the biggest payday of his career against Adonis Stevenson in 2015 when it went to a purse bid. Stevenson's team, I believe, won the purse bid, and then Kovalev and his team pulled out. And their excuse was the fight couldn't happen unless it was on HBO. That was their excuse. And Kathy Duver at the time, I remember very clearly, Kathy Duver at the time did not say that Kovalev was contractually bound to HBO and there was no way he could have fought on another network because it was absolutely forbidden in the contract. She did not say that. What she said was, we have a good relationship with HBO and I wouldn't want to jeopardize the relationship by fighting on another network. Not that it is totally banned and we're not allowed to. No, they could have done it. They could have done it. And what Team Stevenson wanted to do was to allow the networks to bid for the fight. Yeah? Have the networks bid for the fight and whoever puts up the most money gets to show it. If they'd done that, Kovalev could have made the biggest purse in his entire boxing career against Stevenson back in 2015. But he missed the opportunity because of this misplaced sense of loyalty that he apparently felt towards HBO. And I don't know this for a fact at all. This is just speculation. But I suspect that it was more Kathy Duver worrying about her relationship with HBO rather than Kovalev's relationship with HBO, if that makes sense. Because Kathy Duver is a small-time promoter. So she herself was probably more worried about HBO, HBO looking at her a certain way if she had Kovalev fight on a different network. You understand what I'm telling you? I don't think HBO would have been mad at Kovalev necessarily. That's my suspicion. So again, that could be a situation where Kovalev's promoter, Kathy Duver, was doing him a disservice by not making the Stevenson fight on whatever network. Whatever the case may be, they've been forced to go to ESPN now anyway for the Alvarez rematch because HBO have refused to pick it up. It is what it is. HBO had first refusal on this particular fight. And they've refused. They've refused. They wouldn't pay the money that Kathy Duver wanted for the fight. ESPN have done it. So, yeah. And again, that shows that Kovalev could always have fought on a different network. You know? Let me know what you guys think of this. Kovalev against Alvarez, the rematch on ESPN. And also let me know what you think about the fight itself. Do you think Kovalev can win this time? Do you think he can reverse the loss? Or do you think it's going to be repeat of the first fight? Repeat or revenge. They'll probably name it that. So many boxing matches over the years have been named repeat or revenge, as a promotional name, when they name an event. This, that, or the other. So perhaps it will be that. But will it be repeat or will it be revenge for Sergey Kovalev? Eleider Alvarez believes he's going to stop Kovalev earlier next time. And I think from a psychological point of view, Kovalev is in a bad place. Because Kovalev is an on-top fighter. He's a guy who, when he's hurting you and when he's bullying you, he feels like $1 million. But once he's no longer hurting you and mentally he doesn't have the upper hand. We've seen him come apart a couple of times now. In fact, he came apart to some extent in the first Andre Ward fight mentally, because in the late rounds of that fight, Kovalev didn't have the eye of the tiger. When Ward was on the inside hitting him with the body shots in the second half of the first fight, Kovalev looked unsure of himself. I'm telling you now, the warning signs were all there for anybody with eyes to see. And in the rematch, well, you saw what happened. Kovalev was hurt by a headshot and then eventually taken out with definitely some low blows. There's no question about it. And the stoppage was horrible. Whether you agree with the stoppage or not, you cannot disagree with the fact that Sergey Kovalev was wilting physically in the round that that fight ended in. And then, of course, the Alvarez fight was conclusive. And I saw warning signals in Sergey Kovalev's body language long before the round where the fight ended. And so did Roy Jones Jr. and I think Max Kellerman. They all noticed that Kovalev didn't look comfortable in there against Alvarez. There were distress signals before the round where he got dropped and stopped. So this narrative going around that everything was peaches and cream, it was all dandelions and roses for Kovalev in the Alvarez fight until he just got caught with some random shot, I don't buy that narrative at all. I think the writing was on the wall long before that round. And one of the reasons why the writing was on the wall is because Alvarez was putting up very, very stubborn and fierce resistance. His jab was a big thing, Alvarez, in the fight. He actually showed he had the better jab than Kovalev. And Kovalev's got a good jab. But Alvarez's jab was faster and it was very stiff and it was knocking Kovalev's head back from early on in the fight. Kovalev knows now he's in with a guy who can hurt him. He knows now he's in with a guy who's got good boxing skills. I think that will elevate Alvarez's game to a next level, and Kovalev will be coming into the rematch with a lot of doubts in his head. He's taking the rematch really because he has nowhere else to go. What else is Kovalev going to do? After a defeat like that, there's no other way to go other than to try and redeem himself against Alvarez. He's not going to be able to get a fight against a Bivol coming off a KO loss. What kind of purse would he get for that? You know, and the other champions like Beterbiev and Stevenson. I mean, thinking about it now, the Stevenson fight, I mean, would Stevenson be interested in fighting Kovalev when Kovalev ain't got a belt? Almost certainly not. Although the network issue is clearly not an issue because look at Kovalev fighting on ESPN. Yeah, so Kovalev, in my view, had nowhere else to go other than the Alvarez rematch. Or, I don't know, fade away into obscurity. So he has to take it. How confident will he be going into it? I don't think he'll be that confident. That's just my view. Perhaps he's going to convince himself that that's all that happened, that he just got caught with a lucky shot. Maybe. But I think deep down he knows that's not true. I think deep down he knows he was in a tough fight prior to getting dropped and stopped. So let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. It's Satman, I'm out.